Hello and welcome. We are so excited that we are celebrating Sarah Lewis's book launch. And you have your book in your background?
I have it in my background, and I have another one here.
Yes, of course. That's
So,
awesome. The Change Agents
wow.
Whispers in the Wind. Sarah, let's have a conversation about just what this book is about. And I know we talked about it on our previous interview, but just go a little bit deeper into the the why behind this book and then talk about some of the characters.
Sure. Um, the why. This is a climate fiction book, so it's about climate change, but it did not start that way in any way, shape, or form. It actually started as what at the time to me seemed like a kind of a crazy idea. Um, as I was grieving the death of one of my dogs. He died suddenly, unexpectedly, and it really hit me hard. So I was struggling to deal with that, and came up with an idea after looking at various grief therapy things to write something. I wrote a poem about him, and still felt didn't quite
Such a
do it.
loss.
It's such a loss, yeah. So I decided ultimately to write a story in which he was a main character, and thought, for whatever reason, that, well, how about I do a story where animals and humans are teaming up together um, to do something together, to do something impactful that affected both. But I couldn't come up with what that common enemy would be. I had various ideas, and they impacted animals or humans, but not necessarily both. And then one day I was reading a climate change blog um, written by Carl Howard for the environmental law section of the New York State Bar Association. It's a blog I've been following for a while. And as I was reading through it, I thought, that's it. It's climate change. Climate change impacts everything on the
Everybody.
planet.
Yes.
That's the enemy. Bingo, I got it. Um, so that really solidified the story. And as I was turning things over in my head, I thought about it for quite a while before I actually put, so to speak, pen to paper, even though I wrote it on the computer. And before I even started writing, I thought, okay, so they're teaming up together, they're going to fight climate change. Let's come up with a name. Because in my head, I was thinking, this is going to be an alliance of humans and animals, and I thought of them kind of like the Avengers or the Justice League, because those movies had kind of just come out, um, various versions of them. And so I was going back and forth, similarly to the way they do it in the book. What are we going to name this group? And I came up with the Change Agents. So that gave me sort of a direction and a name to rally around. And then I started writing. And as I wrote, um, one of my other dog passed away very shortly after I started writing. So I already had a character in the book for the first dog, whose name was Bebop, and I added a character for the second dog, Jazzy, but she's not a dog in the novel, as you'll find out if you read it. Um, and then the following year, I was well into it. Um, and both my parents passed away.
Mm, you've had a lot
So
on you.
a lot, a lot. And the writing really was a grief therapy for me. It started that way and it continued that way through all these losses. So it really allowed me to have an outlet to pay tribute for the people and beings in my life that I had lost. And it's I'm very connected to it because of that, and this is why I get like this. So I added characters in the book to pay tribute to my parents also. And certain parts of it were really, really hard to write
Mhm.
around those characters, but it ultimately, even though very difficult, was helpful for me to work through the grieving
A lot
process.
of healing, isn't there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, a
Yeah.
lot.
Wow. Well, sometimes it's those deeper things that
Mhm.
writing is often one of the best tools to really come to grips, whether it's in fiction or in real, in real life, but because it keeps you focused in a different way and
Right,
remembering the good things and remember and really kind of touching base with the innermost you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And when people said, like, I talked to the grief counselor through hospice and some other folks, and they, as I mentioned, said, well, lots of times writing is useful. And I thought, I don't get that. I don't see how that would be helpful in the grieving process. But ultimately, through this book, which is really more of an uplifting book, it was helpful for me. So it did make sense. And it also tapped into something that my environmental side. Um, because I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law for 31 years, and um, I've done a lot of writing throughout that career. I've done a lot of reading throughout that career, but it was very different than fiction reading and writing. Um, Clearly, very different.
Hugely.
Yes, and the subject matter, my practice area was not as much environmental as what I went to law school to do. So when I thought of when the climate change light bulb went off, I thought this is great because it's not only a common enemy, but it allows me to get back to my environmental roots, so to speak, which was really fulfilling for me in another
Mhm.
way above and beyond the grief. So I wanted to present climate in a totally different way. Lots of times the topic is surrounded by doom and gloom messaging, which is understandable because we've
It is.
got the warnings and what type of future are we facing if we don't make changes. I didn't want that to be what this book was about, because like many, when I hear that, you kind of want to give up. It's very depressing. That this was not designed to be that type of book. I didn't want to present the altered reality of how bad it's going to be. I wanted to present, here's where we are. Here's what we can do. We need to
The
do something.
constructive things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
constructive things. Just let's do something. Don't give up, and let's work together to address this.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, what I was so fascinated with, and this cover, it took us a while to get to that place
Yeah,
where we could finally figure out what to do with this cover. But as you go through the pages, it's such an interesting flow between the creatures and the humans and how they work together. And how every little creature intertwined and it really made it interesting because it's a fascinating, you've got to stay with the story to read through and understand how every little creature, including the humans, fit together into it,
right.
and um, so there's a much bigger picture behind the writing of this book,
There
to
is.
and a cause. And you have the change agents, which
Mhm.
are is really kind of the leadership role that you're playing, is you're gathering people up for change. And
Right.
so that's huge, that's really huge. And what a better way to start out with using a book to establish your leadership and expertise.
Right, right. And the whispers in the wind aspect of it also is addressed in the book. Um, that's the part that I also wanted to highlight. The whispers in the wind are nature's whispers to us that help us do something, humans, because we're all going to have a very different and not so great reality going forward unless we do something. So the whispers of the wind are nature's whispers.
Very good. Wow, amazing. Well, the let's kind of talk about some of the main characters. Besides, there's Bebop,
There's
and
Bebop.
Okay, and what are the other characters that kind of take the show?
The main human character is Eliza, and she is a television reporter, and she went to law school. That just kind of sounds familiar. She's a legal reporter, but she's really not quite satisfied with what she's doing, um, and this kind of stories that she's reporting on, because she wanted to do something more environmental related, kind of like a save the world sort of character. And that's really not where she finds herself at the news station. So she's somewhat searching for a way to make a difference when um, when she's contacted and she's led on a path that will enable her to follow what she wants to do. So the main characters are Bebop as well as Eliza, and we also have an alliance, which I thought a lot about how to populate the alliance, because the alliance is the group, the the group of animals that comes up with this climate mission idea to team up with humans to get humans engaged in fighting climate change. So there is a myriad of animals in the alliance. I wanted to cover globally a broad mix of animals, and also land, air, water as
Hmm.
well. So, interestingly, watching, I watch a lot of like nature shows on PBS, and they were very helpful for me to be able to come up with the animals that are in the alliance. So we have an elephant, we have a jaguar, a seal, a snow goose, a bat, and an
We have,
alligator, and they're
yeah.
from all different parts of the world. And then we also have a gray wolf, and they tell their stories about how they've been impacted by climate change and why they are motivated to want to do something. Um, Similarly to kind of what I want the readers to start thinking is, how have I been impacted by climate change? What do I have in this world that I do not want to be affected negatively? There's my why. That's why I want to start to do something in the climate fight.
That's beautiful. Well, it's a fascinating read, and it quite enjoyable, and the way you tie all the story together to where they're and what they're doing together, because really we're all interconnected. You
Right.
know, it's so important to stay on top of that. So for those that are listening, be sure and pick up a copy of this beautiful book. It's actually on many online bookstores. Right now, we're doing our book launch, and it's for on Amazon. If you type in that, we put it in the stream, but I don't know how many streams it's showing up on. So you can type in the Change Agents Sarah Lewis, and it'll come up right up. And um, it's available as a Kindle and as a paperback at some point soon. It will also be available as a hardcover. But just totally pick up this book and read it and share it with somebody that would enjoy that, because we are all in this together, and we all should be the change agents that we're meant to be, the impactful influencers, the thought leaders. And you've done a remarkable job making it come to be that way, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Awesome.
very much, Becky.
So enjoy this beautiful book. We do ask for reviews. You can always scroll down to the bottom of that sales page on Amazon and submit a review. That's part of the life of a book. Like any other product we buy, we look at the reviews to see what they're saying about it, and that would really serve to help Sarah to get her book out to the world. So thank you for the beautiful you that you are, and I think this is a day of real celebration for you. So take some time to pause and enjoy and go and celebrate such
Thank
an
you.
amazing accomplishment.
Thank you so much, Becky, and thank you for all of your endless work on this. So many parts of it that I am not aware of. I have no ideas going on in the background, and you've been amazing to work with. So I thank you very, very much.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Well, it's been fun. You're awesome to work with because um, you're responsive. We had a lot of back and forth as it came to the point where it's ready to be published. There's a lot to get it there,
Yeah,
and you've always been very responsive, and that just makes it better. It's a fun working relationship because a team, you can't all do it yourself.
for sure. Teamwork, just like
Yeah.
the book, teamwork.
Very much. Well, enjoy the rest of your beautiful day and be sure, if you've been listening, pick up a copy. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.